Hello, everyone! Finally, the long-awaited second part of episode 70 has been just released, and today I'm going to analyze it for you and find all the Easter eggs and secrets that I managed to notice here. Today, we will see another loss, crazy reveal of the secret agent, and the possible betrayal. Grab your tea and snacks ready, and prepare to watch this video to the end, because this is going to be a crazy ride. Let's go! As I predicted before, this part was more focused on the lore and secrets of the Skibidi bunker than on the action. I mean, even the beginning of this episode contained little of action, and was concentrated more on the personal struggles of POV Plungerman. But let's talk about everything in order here. So the episode starts in the elevator where 5 of our elite infiltration squad survivors can be seen, who are currently busy willing to figure out who the heck is trying to break through the elevator's roof. In my previous videos, I've made an assumption that it may be Skibidi Jackson or even G-Man or Skibidi scientists themselves, but it would be way too easy for Boom to do, isn't it? So, it turns out that it was actually some random Skibidi toilet with the giant acid barrel instead of his toilet cistern. Although he turns out not to be that random after all. Firstly, I thought that it could be the same Mafia Skibidi we could see in the first part of episode 67, whose face was corroded with his own acid after the Giga slap he received from the angered Titan cameraman. But then I realized that it couldn't be him after all, because the colors of his eyes are different. They are blue instead of yellow. Plus, one of his claws is pretty much different, so unfortunately this theory seems to be false. Although it would be really cool if that was actually him. He must be playing a sneaking role today, though, based on the huge dark mask covering his face in order to make it less remarkable. And plus, I didn't hear him yelling Skibidi Skibidi, which makes me think much smarter, sneakier, and cannier. But he also has a short time to live through these enhancements, based on 2 huge explosives behind him that are also being wrapped with the gray duct tape with the red caps attached to it. He throws this poor cameraman into the elevator's cabin as some sort of decoy, which works, as it clearly confuses the agents, and then the detonation from this guy's explosive hits, creating another hole in the elevator's floor. This explosion is obviously very powerful, and one of the cameramen seems to be badly injured at first glimpse. But then he turns out to be fine in the next shot. In the meantime, masked Acid Skibidi appears once again, and this time, we have an opportunity to take a more detailed look on him. He also has 4 metal legs that every Skibidi of the newer generation has now, which makes him even more dangerous. He also has this weirdly looking toilet rim that is shaped like a metal ring with spikes that I remember seeing in the Skibidi mutant that attacked POV Plungerman in the first part of episode 69. And on the left side, he has some sort of modernized cannon embedded with green wires. He thrusts his claw through one of the unlucky cameramen standing right in front of him, and I feel sorry for the guy, because he didn't even have a good opportunity to dodge the attack or go further from this Skibidi. He barely had time to simply get on his legs again, and a split second after he was already stubbed, press F for the guy. And unfortunately, his comrades didn't manage to save him in time as well, because they hit the masked Skibidi with laser shots from their rifles way too late already. But then another wave of explosions simply knocks everyone off their feet. And then Black Speaker Man gets to the action and hits right into the masked Skibidi's eyeballs with 2 of his iconic knives. And then something even more epic happens. That poor stabbed cameraman who still is being impaled on Skibidi's claw as a chicken on a skewer grabs all the vigor powers that were left in him and decides to do the very last heroic act. He grabs the stunned masked Skibidi by his toilet rim and pulls both himself and the prick into the hole in the elevator floor that was made by the entrapped cameraman's explosion a few seconds before. POV Plungerman hulls out his hand in despair and disbelief, and I cannot help but feel sorry for our Chad. He had already experienced way too many losses on his way to this bunker. He looks at 3 of his comrades, which is all that remained of their squad, and gets the weapon that fell out of the late cameraman's hands before he was stabbed by this Skibidi. By the way, this weapon has a yellow square with the letter A in it, which must be hinting to the word Alliance, indicating that it's of their property. As the elevator is about to collapse, Black Speakerman reacts immediately by going by the white terracotta's back and lifting him upwards from the cabin with the usage of his jetpack. As he's about to do the same trick with another cameraman there, POV Plungerman, which is clearly angered by another loss in a battle, seems to take care of himself without anybody else's help. So he uses his spiked brass knuckles, allowing him to get up this concrete wall easily, as if he was a Spider-Man or something. And in this moment, we can finally witness the scene from the leak that Databio exclusively got a few days before this episode's release. And it turns out that Black Speakerman is trying to help POV Plungerman hanging at the abyss after the elevator cabin fell. But our Chad is way too proud to receive the unneeded help from Black Speakerman. Or maybe he doesn't even trust him that much, and decides to prevent himself of getting thrown into the abyss below. So he hits the Black Speaker's hand, signaling about his true attitude towards him in the moment, and gets up himself. The White Terracotta Brother is busy looking at his tablet again, and then he quickly points to the right corridor with his hand, giving the agents the direction to move to. In the next couple of scenes, our guys can be seen doing the stealth mode, because I wouldn't advise them in any way to join any sort of battle right now. So they are crouching past different Skibidi guards, the design of which reminded me a lot of that guy we could see on the Elite Cameraman's old leak, by the way. And then it turns out that POV Plungerman got the night vision on his camera, adding to the list of the upgrades he's got in this bunker. That's actually really convenient, bro. But he wasn't given much time to use it, because just a few seconds later, the lights turn on, and I can surely say that the location I see now is really reminding me of the laboratory from the Black Mesa game, which is also connected to Half-Life lore. The alerted guard appears at the end of the corridor, but the White Terracotta Bro has already pulled his remote controller card, so all the guys need to do is run to this open door. They run past the sign that says Test Lab, but what's being written below, I didn't really manage to decipher. Apparently that's an indication of the number of meters this test lab is underground. Or maybe that's the number of the door it's been hidden behind. So the guys are running for their life to the garage door, which was also shown by Boom in one of the leaks, and it's interesting how its rusty and untidy appearance creates a strong contrast with the whole lab, which is white, shiny, and cold-looking. By the way, I think that all the other doors they pass through may be of the same use that the doors we could see in the first part of episode 69. Probably some newer experimental forms of Skibidi are being hidden behind them, but this time, Boom decided not to show them to us, and focus on the lore part of the series today instead. As the agents are about to enter the garage door, I caught another sign right there, but as it's being placed way too far away, I didn't manage to discern what's being written there. So if you guys have any ideas on what might be there, please write them in the comments below, because you surely are the smartest community out there, and I love reading your theories under my analyses. Now the agents are all in, and we're getting to the most fascinating part of this episode now. First thing first, take a closer look at this frame. Don't you guys see anything suspicious? Oh yeah, that's right. It's the head of some Skibidi glimpsing at our agents from the shadows, and they are not aware of his presence yet. Then POV Plungerman slowly turns around, and we see a great load of things inside of this room. These glass vessels with the unique stuff inside is something that reminded me a lot of the alien technology stuff from the alien laboratory that could be seen in the game called Subnautica. In this game, the main character also stumbled upon the technology both from the past and future that was created by aliens and kept in their main lab. And these weapons and pieces of equipment we see in today's episode are really looking similar to the Subnautica alien concept. Plus, do you guys remember the plot including aliens in one of the multiverse series created by Verlance? Considering how strongly Boom started taking his inspiration from the fans' works, and also taking into consideration that Astro Toilet started having their spotlight moment in the series by now, I wouldn't be surprised if there will be aliens involved in the series plot soon. I mean, do you guys remember how I predicted Boom to get some horror inspirations from Dom Studios' works? I turned out to be actually right in the end. So today, I'm doing another prediction of mine. What if the next thing he'll get inspired from will be Skibidi Wars by Verlance? And I have some more thoughts on that topic, but I think I'm gonna save them for later, so watch this video to the end, not to miss anything important. Now, let's see what this room got in store for us. Aside from two anciently looking swords in the first two glass vessels, and the giant claw we could remember from Skibidi's scientist giant puppet, I got stunned by this awesome giant sword hanging above. And I bet that in the next episode, we see this exact sword in the possession of Titan Speakerman. Because what's being stored in this room reminds me of the Alliance's weapons in general, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be the prototype for the new upgrade one of the Titans will most likely get. Also, My eye caught this pile of something laying in the corner, because that's no other than Camera Spider I mocked so much in the earlier episodes of this series. I used to say that this thing has little to no actual combat power in the real fight against the Skibidi, because they seem to not even react to the shots that Camera Spider produced. The only thing that helped the Alliance in the destruction of Skibidi was the flushing of them or destroying their head completely. But anyways, it's nice to see the prototype of this Camera Spider in here, and above from it, we can see the giant arm that belonged to no other but Titan Cameraman from episode 20, whose hand holding the shield was torn off in the fight against G-Man. So they must have brought in here as well. What a cool reference to the earlier episodes. And to the right, we can see the old version of Titan Speakerman's speakers he used to have earlier with white color of it, then was later changed to the red color. And of course, there's also the old version of anti-TV men glow sunglasses that we could firstly see in episode 43. And now, we're turning to this table, and oh my god, where do I even begin here? Let's view it step by step in order. So, POV Plungerman is approaching the table, and takes a closer look at this tablet first, where the faces of Skibidi Scientist and Astro Toilet we saw in the first part of episode 70 can be seen. On there we could see the lyrics of the Skibidi Dop song made in the alien-like style of font. And also, the first red word is not dope, but dumb. Can it be the reference to Dom's studio channel I already mentioned before? Because there'll be more to it, but I'll talk more of it a bit later. Also, in the upper side of this document, there are some logos in the form of embellished circles, but I couldn't remember them being used anywhere else besides this episode. Maybe that's an alien logo of Astro Toilet's fraction, I don't know. Let's get to the juiciest part now. POV stares at the picture hanging above two old-looking computers, and what do we see here? The person in the center of it looks just like Boom, and not only in his special agent clothing, but also as humanoid Boom from his secret video that he hid from his channel. So I don't have any doubts that it's actually him, and it may be him even before he became a secret agent. He shakes hands with the guy whose face looks pretty similar to one of the Skibidi faces I certainly saw somewhere else before, but I didn't really remember who that actually was. Besides those two, we see a bunch of other human scientists, and I couldn't ignore their poses in this picture. They seem to be not so pleased with something, and I even got an idea by what. The inscription above goes like, Alpha Hills Labs gets new administrator, and it must be hinting to Boom. So I guess that these scientists that are probably the smartest and most influential ones in the whole laboratory team do not approve of someone's decision to put Boom in the role of administrator of this whole faculty. Don't they trust him in something important? And you know, based on what the whole humanity turned out to become by this moment, I can see that something definitely went not according to these guys' plans. Also, we can see the date in the right upper corner of this picture. February 7th, 1979. Besides that, we can also see some of the partly faded text below this inscription, based on which I can learn that this underground laboratory's establishment was sponsored by the government, although it isn't really stated by which countries exactly, and that the reasons for Boom getting the administrator status remain in secrecy. Aside from this mysterious date, there's also something else that got me really excited. Do you guys remember how I mentioned Dom's studio and his multiverse series before? Aside from Verlance's Skibidi Wars? Check out this Alpha Hills sign. What if it's actually connected to the Alpha that appeared in the later episodes of Dom Studios' multiverse? By the plot of this series, Alpha is the powerful creature that actually controls all Skibidi toilets, including G-Man and Skibidi Scientist. Could it be so that Boom would actually combine this Alpha plot twist and the aliens line into one, so we'll get something really crazy as a result? By the way, as I mentioned before, below this picture there are two computer screens. Those may be just ordinary computers needed to run some of the lab's info in here, or maybe that is another reference to the earlier episodes that Boom could have provided us with. Because in case you guys don't remember, in episode 44 there was a placard hinting the appearance of the new computer men's race, but it was never put into the actual series afterwards. Plus, in Verlance's Skibidi Wars, the computer men are an actual thing, and there are even laptop men now who appeared very recently. POV then turns to the right and takes a glimpse at the white terracotta bro, who got something really interesting in his hands. This is the ancient-looking book with the sign of TV Men's Screen embedded in its cover. Aside from this sign, though, this book's visuals kind of reminded me of the Hermaeus Mora's Black Books design from the game called Skyrim. Now, what can be possibly contained in these two books? I have two ideas on what it can be. The first thing is, the TV men can actually be somewhat treacherous after all, and that's why the whole book projects can be dedicated to them, as there may be so much material about these guys. And the second idea is that TV men are so technically advanced for Skibidi that they keep all the knowledge they're getting about them from battles in these books. Plus, that's interesting how none of TV men's heads or body parts can be found in this room. Thus, TV men's race stays to be a complete mystery for Skibidi scientists. But White Terracotta Bro doesn't seem to be that wishful in reading these books or even opening them. And I don't really know why. Does he think there's not enough time for this? Or he doesn't even want to touch this topic yet? So he shakes his head and puts the book back on the table, and then something completely insane happens. Do you remember how I pointed out the Skibidi hiding in the shadows as the agents just entered this room? Now it's time for him to strike, and the victim is the White Terracotta Brother. Honestly, guys, I could have expected anything in the world, including the sacrifices from the Black Speaker Man or even Plungerman's sides, but not this guy at all. But before I'll talk more about it, let me say a few words about this Skibidi first. Don't you remember this prick? Well, I do, actually, because this is the Skibidi with sewn mouth from episode 42. Man, I didn't see any of this coming at all. In my old analysis of episode 42, I said how I consider this guy not to be that simple at all. And it blows my mind that I was right about this by now. His claws got upgraded a bit, and he's got the TV screen on his stomach. Well, I mean somewhere where his stomach could have been if he was a human being. With one simple move of his claws, he grabs the White Terracotta from behind and throws him at one of the glass vessels with such crazy force that he instantly breaks his neck, which disconnects the wires between his head camera and the body. I actually gasped when I saw this for the first time. In the next second, he releases a tremendously powerful wave of red glow, and it is so crazy that aside from the glitches on POV Plungerman's head camera, a sign can also be noticed. It's really hard to decipher it fully, but it definitely contains the word "end" in it. I've got an idea that this glow makes cameramen feel in the Skibidi's shoes, that were tormented by it so badly that it literally made them end themselves. That's why POV Plungerman raises his hands slowly. Maybe he was about to tear his head camera off in order to end himself too. Oh my god, that's quite terrifying to imagine. But thankfully, the Black Speaker Man, who has his protective earphones on, tries to prevent both cameramen from doing this. And man, thank you so much for this! He forcefully turns POV Plungerman from the source of this terrifying red glow, which makes him go out of trance and put on a protective lens that he got from Big Cameraman in the elevator at the end of the second part of episode 68. But unfortunately, the other guy didn't have the same protective lens, so he actually tore his head camera off. And man, I feel really bad for him. This terrifying Skibidi prick doesn't seem to be done yet, so he tries to destroy the Black Speaker Man as well. But thankfully, it's time for Plungerman now to step to the game, and with just one mighty throw of his plunger, he crashes the whole TV screen so bad that it even bursts with glass shards. And by the way, Boom once again reuses the same broken TV screen model that firstly appeared in episode 47. And to shut the whole thing down for sure, Plungerman also takes a few powerful shots to the Skibidi face, using the weapon that he got from his late comrade in the elevator in the beginning of the episode, and then turns his whole face into a mash. Fatality! I cannot help but applaud the raised level of quality of Boom's series by now, by the way, and the amount of details he pays attention to. That's really cool to see. We're moving to the end of the episode now. POV Plungerman takes another glimpse at the body of the White Terracotta Bro and takes the remote controller in his hands. The tablet that Terra used got inactive now, and all we can see is the dark blue screen indicating that the device cannot be used anymore. As for the Black Speaker Man, he smashes the protective glass of another vessel and takes some sort of spear, the weapon we've never seen in this series before. Also, Plungerman equips himself with the latest upgrades that the Alliance members got in the end of episode 69. And I am really wondering how the heck the same protective earphones and jetpacks turned out to be here. This seems really strange to me. But maybe we will find an answer to this really soon. The Plungerman uses the remote controller to open the door, draws his weapon in pair with the Black Speaker Man, and flies over to the corridor ahead. next to the sign I couldn't really decipher before. And on that epic note, this episode ends. Oh my god, what a wild roller coaster of events it was. I think I'll save my best predictions and theories for the next video, because today's video already goes way too long. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel not to miss my new videos, because heck, it's getting hotter in the Skibidi world. And that was me, Iso Toilet. See ya!